as you can see, I got it already set up for the thumbnail, and I got my good old chicken sandwich, my spicy deluxe. But today we're gonna be having some Chick-Fil-A, and I'm gonna be ranting about movies, a couple movies that I've seen recently. And let me go ahead, twist this around, make this look more visually appealing. There we go. Also, I get Chick-Fil-A sauce. I don't know. I mean, I know why they've been putting them in the bags recently, but we never did that when I worked there. Must be. It's definitely a new thing. If you like crinkling sounds, I don't particularly care for it, but if you guys like it, there you go. Anyways, I'm very hungry. I'm gonna try and speak slowly in this video, but I can't promise anything because I am just hyped up. I have a lot of energy, and I'm really needing to, I just feel really anxious. But hope everyone's doing well. I have met, firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed. I hit my 3,000 subscriber, what do you call it? Check mark, I guess you would say, checkpoint. I wanted to say landmark, and I'm like, that's not it. But, so, what I wanted to do was, I could do, like, answering some questions in this video. I think I probably should make it a really long video, but I wanted to do a live stream. But also, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Hopefully all of you. I want to, say, those of you who suffered from Hurricane Allen, if you lost family members or lost your home, my thoughts are with you. And, but I lost my internet. Not as big as people losing their homes and their highway, the highway, people's getting flooded. Crazy stuff. But I've been AFK. Or, I guess MIA, you would say, from posting. I was going to post, but lost internet. Just got it back a few days ago. But truly and sincerely, if you are a victim of the hurricane, I hope everything's alright and you're doing okay. Because I didn't get that bad, but I've been seeing online people have been getting it like super bad. But yeah, so I watched before the internet inexplicably went out. I saw 2 movies that I've never seen before. One of them I think you'll be surprised that I've never seen. But so I watched Prisoners by, who was in it? Hugh Jackman was in it. Terrence Howard was in it. Another famous actor that I don't remember the name of. But we'll talk about that. And I also watched Tropic Thunder. Both in the same night. Watched them like a few days ago. So I won't have I remember the plot and the story, but I guess the plot is the story, but I can have like a fresh recollection of everything. Of all the events. Got my Coke. Tropic Thunder was pretty funny, so I'll go ahead and get started. And then, yeah, well, I guess we'll go from there. I really do. I just wing these videos. I kind of just turn the camera on and start yapping. I figure out what I want to eat, but I don't have an outline. I have ideas and bullet points of things that I want to talk about. Sometimes I think about the construction and the order and the things that I'll point out. But I title all of my videos Rambles because I'm all over the place. I don't stay, I bounce around a lot. So, I think we'll start talking about prisoners. I think my dad's cutting the grass. Sorry if you can hear that, but anyways, so prisoners. What happens is that there's these two families getting together on Thanksgiving. And there's these two daughters, one from each family. And you know how kids do, they run, they play around, they they kind of get into like trouble and things like that. So they're these two kids, and they like start climbing on an RV, and the two older siblings from each family are like, wait, what? Like, because they're trying to wrangle them up for Thanksgiving dinner, and they're like, so they pull them away from the RV. They're like, don't climb on this. This is like some random person's RV. Like we're not, you don't just play anywhere you want. Like not everywhere is a playground, basically. Well, then the day goes by, and then once they're getting ready for Thanksgiving dinner, the parents from each family, they're like, hey, where are our daughters' names? I don't remember their names, but they're like, where are our daughters' names? And like, where are our daughters? And so they then go searching for the daughters. Well, the two teenagers that remember, they're like, oh, we remembered the RV. They put in a police report. And they're trying to, like, they have to put in, they're trying to get people. Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal. He plays the detective. That's the other famous person in this movie. I didn't remember him right off the top of my head. He plays the detective who's looking into the disappearance of these girls. And I can't remember how, because I watched this like 5 days ago. I can't remember the exact reason how they came to this conclusion, but they end up finding a guy who, in connection with the disappearances of those two girls, like, because obviously as a detective, I think he got the description of the RV. I don't think they remembered like a license plate. Oh, I remember. Basically, the guy that abducted the two girls, the detective ends up coming across him. He gets a description, or he gets a license plate, pulls the license plate and figures out, oh, this guy, I guess he goes to, or, excuse me, that's not how. Someone told me recently that I'm bad at storytelling. I'm only bad at telling stories of things I don't remember very clearly. Okay, I'm a great storyteller. The detective, Jake Gyllenhaal, finds a connection between the guy and the store. This store, apparently, that you'd go and buy clothes from. So then, they get him into custody. Because, they find the RV, get that guy into custody, but he's not talking. They find his accomplice, get him into custody through the store connection, because there's two people. That guy ends up blowing his brains out. But they think it's this one creepy guy. And I don't remember the name, so this sounds really confusing already. There's a guy that owns an RV. And there's a guy that collects children's clothes. The guy who collects children's clothes, he kills himself. He gets hold of one of the cops' gun, shoots his brains out. The guy who's in the RV, who was like a main accomplice, the police end up having to let him go. And so, because the police end up having to let him go, they can only have like a 72 or 48 hour hold on him or something like that. And he wasn't talking. Hugh Jackman's character, who is the father of one of the girls that went missing, goes up to confront him. Because this entire time, his wife has been putting pressure on him to find the kids. They've been doing search parties. The wife is losing her mind. I don't know why. In a lot of like horror films, I mean, there's always like, okay, Prisoners is not a horror film, it's like a thriller, but there's a lot of like tropes of like, you know, I mean, well, not tropes, but I do think if you're a mother, that like if your child goes missing, it's gonna completely, there's nothing else you're gonna be able to think about. Something happens to your child, that's all you can think about. But in this movie, and I know like maybe that's just a reality and I'm ignorant, that you place blame on people who don't deserve it because you're hurting, and then that's why you're lashing out, is because you're hurt. But in this movie, all the mom does until she gets her child back is blame Hugh Jackman for not doing anything, or like the fact that they don't even have their child. You're not doing enough, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. So that stresses him out. And when he's confronting the guy in front of all the news media outlets and everything that are also questioning him when he gets released from police custody, he says under his breath, the guy who got released, who was in the RV, he gets released and he goes, "They cried when I left her. They didn't cry until I left them." Something like that. So he subliminally admits, in a cocky way, that he did in fact abduct his daughter and the other family's daughter. But there's no proof that he did it, and he didn't say anything, so they have to let him go. I also got a cookies and cream shake. It took me a while getting everything set up, so I just don't want to like let it melt too much. But anyways, so basically, after that, bro loses his mind and gets really mad, as one would. Good old spicy deluxe. I love this. So because bro gets extremely annoyed, well, he not extremely annoyed, he has blinding rage. He abducts the guy. He waits for him to take his dog out to go to the restroom. Like when he takes, he goes to his house basically. Hugh Jackman goes to the guy who's suspected, the RV guy, I'll just call him the RV guy, goes to the RV guy's house, who he lives with his aunt, by the way, and then he abducts him. Basically, he comes behind him, pulls out his gun. I think he pulls out his gun, abducts him, brings him back to apparently some kind of old apartment thing, or an old condo that Hugh Jackman's character's dad used to own, or something like that. But the point is that it's abandoned. So he takes him back there, restrains him, and then tries to like basically, torture him, or beat him up until he can figure out, like, tell me where my daughter's at. Tell me where my daughter's at. Yeah, so tell me where my daughter's at. Tell me where my daughter's at. And I'll let you go. Oh, something I forgot to mention. So, when Jake Gyllenhaal was the main detective, so Jake Gyllenhaal, one of the reasons I let him go is because through the questioning process, Jake Gyllenhaal's character determines that the guy that they're interrogating, seems to have the intelligence of like a 10-year-old boy. He is a man, but he seems to be, the IQ of like of a 10-year-old. So they seem like, that makes it seem like it's very unlikely that he'd be able to abduct, the two girls. So, Hugh Jackman, he kind of beats him up a bit. Terrence Howard's character, I can't remember what happens to get them connected, but he finds out about what Hugh Jackman's been doing. So he finds out that he's been keeping this guy in an abandoned area, in an abandoned building, I guess, an abandoned home, but that needs serious, renovations. Golly. But Terrence Howard's character is like, hey, this isn't right. We shouldn't be doing this. They beat him bloody. Or not they, but Hugh Jackman's character beats the guy bloody because he's like, I heard you said what you said. Like, tell me where my daughters are at and I'll let you go. Meanwhile, during all of this, Jake Gyllenhaal is investigating whatever they had some kind of service or some kind of celebration or something or other in town, and that's when Jake Gyllenhaal finds, or he gets basically a lead on who one of the kidnappers is, and he's doing all of this. He's investigating that while basically Hugh Jackman is basically interrogating the one guy. So they do this. The thing about the movie is they kind of do this juxtaposed thing. I'm like, well, did he actually kidnap? Is he actually playing even though he has an IQ of a 10-year-old, did he actually do it, or is he playing along with it? There's another accomplice, and then he says something like, oh, he was the main guy, the RV guy, says something like, "Oh, he was supposed to meet up with me." And then he starts. This is towards the end of the movie, but then he starts talking about like a maze and things like that. As the guy who got put into police custody after they, because he was buying the young children's clothes. They went into his house and they saw some bloodied clothing, and so they brought in Hugh Jackman and all the other parents to see if like any of those clothing would match the clothing of their daughters, to see if he was actually implicated and whatnot. And so they did find one of the girls, pajamas or no, it was a sock. Eventually they like investigated and found it out that it was pig's blood or whatever, but I don't actually remember what the connection there was, but. And that basically, the entire movie, you're thinking, okay, like, what's happening to the girls? It's very drawn out. It's a long movie. I would say it's worth a watch. It was really entertaining, but I'm gonna kind of skip ahead a little bit just so I have some time to talk about Tropic Thunder, because I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so we have, and also I'm missing details, so sorry if that ruins your relaxation, but hopefully just me rambling about it and kind of like trying to recall the details is entertaining. At the very least entertaining, hopefully, and very, obviously relaxing. So, what happens next? Okay, so then they do all that investigation. He still, and Hugh Jackman at some point ends up putting the guy, the RV guy, into like what is basically an unfinished shower, and then he basically is gonna like turn on the water, so it showers him with either boiling hot water or freezing cold water. That's like another torture method that he did. And so yeah, so he boarded him up in there, and Jake Gyllenhaal ends up catching on to Hugh Jackman, starts suspecting him, and there's even a scene where he goes into the, he traces him, and he goes back and goes to Hugh Jackman at the condo that he's keeping the guy at, and you think he's gonna catch him, like, torturing the guy, but he walks in through the house, and I think he gets a call about the other accomplice, and that he got a lead on that, so then he immediately leaves, so he never actually catches Hugh Jackman for what he did, or anything like that. But then, like when I said the guy mentioned the maze, he does this after this scene. Like, I'm remembering things, because like as I'm telling the story I remember, so then I have to go back for it to make sense. It's confusing, but movies tell stories like that, okay, so why can't I? But anyways, yeah, so he basically goes and he questions the aunt. Hugh Jackman, he goes to the aunt and he starts questioning the auntie, and then he's like, you eventually realize that the aunt was one of the ones, well, the aunt was the other accomplice, along with the other two people, the other two guys, but she was kind of orchestrating it all, and one of the girls gets free. One of the girls gets free, and they find her. And I believe it's like after they find her, I think that's what makes him go and question the aunt. Because the girl said something like, you were there at him. And then, so you're like, oh my god, is it actually him? Is Hugh Jackman actually one of the guys who kidnapped the daughter? But you eventually find out. But no, it's just the aunt of the RV guy, who then would drug them with like Pepsi and whatever else. And then she locks Hugh Jackman into this like dungeon. Jake Gyllenhaal, he finds out. He finds the other daughter, because one of the daughters, broke out and was found of the other family. Terrence Howard's family. So they're still looking for the other daughter. that daughter was still at the aunt's house, or wherever she kept her. Jake Gyllenhaal basically comes in. I believe he shoots the aunt because the aunt was going to shoot him or shot him. And then he picks up the daughter, rushes her to the hospital. It's a pretty intense scene. And then he's like driving through the rain. You know, you're getting a really good shot of like the windshield wipers and how it's very blurry, like how you can barely see, but he's going like 100 miles an hour trying to get her to the hospital because the aunt slipped her some kind of drug that was gonna I think it was gonna kill her. So he's like rushing her to the hospital to try to get her there before before the drugs set in. You know, because he's a cop and he's trying to do the best he can. So you kind of like, it's interesting. It's interesting that the series or the movie, because everyone's kind of doing their own thing. I don't know if you like that, but everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And so, or they're not their own thing, but everyone's doing like the best that they can. So that way they can, everyone's doing the best that they can. So that way, or either the best way they can cope, the best thing that they can do to see if they can find the two girls, or in general, just like kind of trying to come to grips with the reality that they might never see their daughters again. Like, very interesting. Very interesting plot. And the best scene is at the very end, where you see Jake Gyllenhaal. He goes back to the house. He goes back to the house. He's trying to because now Hugh Jackman is the one that went missing. Now when Hugh Jackman got put into the hole, one of the big key things, I didn't mention this from earlier because now I'm remembering it because I'm kind of like rewinding my memory, is they never found, so one of the girls had a whistle on her. And so they never found the whistle. Obviously the girls got abducted, so when Hugh Jackman got put into the hole, he sees the whistle. So then when Jake Gyllenhaal later is investigating the house, looking for things, maybe like Hugh Jackman, like where could he go? Hugh Jackman, the hole that he got put in is underneath the car that's like in the parking, that's like in the yard of the house, of the aunt's house. She pulls, because she makes him drive, back up in a car that's like a old vintage car. Pull back. She gets him into the hole, and then she puts the car back on top so that it looks like, it looks normal. No one's gonna look under there. And the very end of the film, but the split second, you can barely hear Hugh Jackman whistling, using the whistle as much as he can. And then like Jake Gyllenhaal makes this expression like he hears it, and then bam, cut to black. So there's the only resolution is that the girls are found, but it's Hugh Jackman, this guy who kind of went on he lost his mind because he lost his daughter, and he was now put into the situation his daughter was in. Is he gonna get free? So overall, it's a very good film, and I know I spoiled it, but all of my movie reviews and rambles are going to be me spoiling it, just for the very sake of I can ramble about something for a long time if I can spoil it and go through all the details, but if I can't spoil it, the video becomes a lot shorter. have seen Tropic Thunder. So everyone is, kind of surprised. Because apparently this was such a cultural phenomenon that everyone was like, how have you not seen Tropic Thunder? Well, Tropic Thunder was never like movies that I was exposed to as a kid. My dad doesn't really care. He might enjoy it, but he never would have shown me like a 10-year-old me that film. I mean, I think I was 10 years old. I think Tropic Thunder, did it come out in like 2009? I want to say it came out in like 2009. Let's see. It came out in 2008, and I believe Iron Man came out in the same year. So I saw Iron Man the year that Tropic Thunder came out, but I did not see Tropic Thunder the year that Tropic Thunder came out. So if you're like, oh, so that's kind of the reason, it's 2008, I'm 9 years old, I'm not going to go and watch Tropic Thunder. That has way too many adult themes in it. My parents would have been like, heck no. But Iron Man, a guy gets abducted, a billionaire gets abducted. They tell him to make a missile. He decides that he's not going to make a missile. He makes a freaking suit of armor and escapes. I'm not reviewing that movie, but Iron Man, I love cape movies. Anyways, so Tropic Thunder. If you haven't seen it, most of you have, but I'll briefly. I assume most of you have, but if you haven't seen it, it's a satirical movie. It's a comedy. Basically, they're making a movie about a story where there are guys, I guess, fighting in the Vietnam War. The movie is about them making that movie about a story that's in Tropic Thunder. It sounds complicated. So there's this guy. Was his name like Sergeant Two Leaf or something like that? I forget his name. Two Leaf or something like that. So there is this army vet in the movie, or not a real army vet, but like in the movie as a movie character that supposedly wrote not like a book about his experience in this specific Vietnam situation where there's like 10 people who went in and only like 4 people survived, and then of those 4 people, like only 1 person wrote a story about it or something like that to do this long intro. And so that's what the movie's about. It has like, some Ben Stiller in it. It has, Jack Black in it. It has Robert Downey Jr. It has a crazy cast. And Robert Downey Jr. is playing there was controversy about Tropic Thunder because they're saying that like, Robert Downey Jr. played a character that's he's a white man playing like a black character in the movie. But the funny thing about it that I didn't know is that Robert Downey Jr. is playing an Australian actor who's playing a black guy in a movie, if that makes sense. So there's like a lot of, there's a lot of layers to it, and it's pretty funny. Jack Black plays like this character who's like addicted to coke. He does I think it's like the Eddie Murphy type movies of like, I forget the movie, but it's like, the Hercules, those type of movies. I forget the name of that particular movie, but that movie's about like a fat guy that, falls in love with this skinny girl, but then it's like, he thinks he's too fat to date her, blah, blah, blah. So Jack Black in the movie, in Tropic Thunder, plays an actor who does those types of movies. They call it like Fatty 1 or Fatty 2 or whatever, and like they all play corny actors that it seems like they all do really crappy roles. Like Ben Stiller's character apparently did this thing called Simple Jack, where he plays like a guy with a learning disability. And so that's where I know that Tropic Thunder is where the never go full retard meme comes from. But now hearing exactly, like, getting the full context as to why that's funny, Now getting the full context as to why that's funny, I kind of understand it now. Like, I kind of understand why people would sort of, use that as like a joke in here and whatnot. I can't explain all of Tropic Thunder. It goes off into very many directions. You have another character who's a rapper who does movies. He has some kind of thing that he's selling. Some kind of drink called Booty Sweat. It's meant to be something like funny like that. I will say though, that the first 40 minutes of Tropic Thunder is really funny, really entertaining. And it doesn't get bad necessarily, but throughout the movie it starts to get slowly more serious. Whereas in the beginning you can tell it's very hilarious, unhinged. The director dies. Spoiler alert, but the director dies by hitting a Vietnamese landmine. And so one of the funny things that happens in Tropic Thunder is they're because the guy who wrote the novel, apparently he's supposed to be this actual this army vet. And so he tells the director, you guys gotta get them in this shit. If you want to write about a story about getting people, about people being in certain situations, they have to be in that situation in order to perform very well, because there's a whole thing about the guy who's paying for the movie. Because in the very beginning of the movie, they accidentally fire off the explosives, which is really expensive. So they were going to fire the director if they don't have an actual product, a movie product. So they were going to fire the director. So Sergeant Two-Leaf, or whatever his name is, comes in and is like, yo, this is what you have to do to get your movie on track. So when they're going to start that process, and they were going to actually put them in with, they were going to make it seem real. They have a bunch of hidden cameras and whatnot. But then there's actually still Vietnamese, guerrilla, I guess, insurgents down there that left up an old bomb. And the director steps on it and dies, but they all think it's special effects. So it's actors thinking that they're method acting, but they're actually just in danger. They're actually in literal danger. They're using fake guns. They're using real guns with blank ammo, fighting against people who actually have real ammo. And so, that's kind of the play on it, and going throughout there. And I thought it was really interesting. Oh, but I am full, and I am very full. So, I'm gonna kind of cut it off here, but sorry if you guys, God, I need to get better at this. I need to start taking some notes. These last couple videos I've just done off the top of my head. Hopefully you guys still enjoy them, but thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys are having a great rest of your, or having a good day. Hope you have a great rest of your day or night or whenever you're watching this. And I hope you all are doing well, especially, like I said again, my thoughts go out to all of you who are affected by the hurricane. And I hope, you find some relief soon if you are affected, or if you have family members that were affected. I hope everything's gonna be alright. But I'll be producing more content. I'm gonna get more active now that I have my internet back. But thank you guys again for watching. Thank you for helping me get to 3,000 subs. Love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. And I'll catch you later. Bye.